solo tanking. I've heard it's been a huge problem, especially towards the end of Season 8, the start of Season 8.5. People have been talking about solo tanking and a huge problem, and that has led to, well, that hasn't really led to, but it's how I'm going to segue to a lot of talk about role queue or 222, finding some way to make 222 the primary or the default. That's a bad idea. That is a terrible idea. Okay, the idea of triple comps should always exist. They should always be plausible, right? 3 tanks should always be plausible. 3 DPS should always be plausible. 3 supports should always be plausible. The problem inherently comes in when the DPS, the supports that do work in triple support, the buffs that they give out are damage boost. So Mantis is already doing a lot of damage and healing, and enabling her team to do even more damage. Ultron does a lot of damage, a lot of healing, which is AFK healing, so he doesn't even need to think about it, and then on top of that, enables his team to do more damage. That's the problem, okay? It's not 222, it's not triple support. The problem is that you do too much damage, because triple support should have tons of healing, tons of sustain, tons of utility, so it's harder to dive, and it's harder to poke. They just live. But in return, they don't have a lot of damage. Well, you don't beat that sustain with more damage. You beat it with what beats less damage? More health. You play 3 tanks, 1 DPS, and 2 supports. And then you play that because then they can't kill you. You can't kill them, and they can't kill you. You either match the triple support so no one dies, or you play triple tank. Because a lot of the tanks in this game function, like kit-wise, their kits function as big DPS. The way you get value is different, but they function as big DPS. Like, even some of my favorites, like Rogue, I think Thor is a good example. So you can play a lot of them in triple tank. With 1 shield tank, or 2 of them in 1 shield tank, gives you a lot of utility, a lot of team utility, and a lot of health, so that way they can't kill you. Especially Devil Dino, even after this balance patch, will still be good with triple tank into something like that. And then, you know what beats triple tank? Triple DPS. Because you have more damage than their 2 supports can sustain. And then if you play goats, triple tank, triple support, then you run into the problem of, okay, now we don't have enough damage to kill anything. Like, unless our tanks are goats, are the goats, and like Venom's getting multiple picks every single time. Like, because Hulk doesn't typically go to the back line, get multiple picks every single fight. Captain America doesn't typically go to the back line, get multiple picks every single fight. Most of them are big distractions. They're big DPS. Yes, that's what I've said. That's how they function. You could take the same kit and put it on a DPS character, but in order to do that, you would need to buff all the numbers of the damage, because they don't get their value from getting picks. They get it from being there as a big wall, as a big distraction to make sure that healing isn't done or damage isn't done to the rest of your team. So Goats suffers from both of those. You could still play triple tank, and even better, 222 would probably beat Goats in Marvel Rivals if triple support didn't have the problem of enabling extra damage. It does a lot of damage because you're not losing out. If you play Mantis, Ultron, or Atom, you theoretically should not be losing out on a lot of damage, because your 3rd support acts as a DPS. Like, Atom should be hitting headshots like a Hela. If you play Hela or Phoenix a lot and you want to go triple support, you can just play Atom. Bam, bam, bam. It's the same thing as hit scan. The only thing you'd have to learn is your Cosmic Cluster, the right click. And then on top of that, you also have Ultron and Mantis, who both do really good damage and enable their team to do more damage. Like, just straight up damage boosting everybody. And then on top of that, Luna does crazy damage. Gambit has the damage boost for himself, same with Luna, and he has anti-heal. It's the utility that the supports have to enable their team to do more damage instead of utility to help their supports with other things that makes triple support so broken. The problem is not triple support in and of itself. It's not that, oh, triple support's such a problem, we must include role queue. It's that these supports have these abilities that don't allow your team to suffer the weaknesses of playing a triple support comp. It's just plain and simple. It's not because triple support is broken as a concept. It's because those characters don't allow your team to feel the weakness. And exactly what I talked about in the Luna, they buff out weaknesses. Ultron used to have that weakness. I mean, he would do the damage of his DPS, but he wouldn't enable the rest of your team to do more damage. And it took him a long time to do that damage of the DPS because it has to charge, bam, then the burst, then charge, bam, then the burst. And so it's constant pressure. He does have a lot of pressure, but he doesn't like two tap like a Hela would. So you do lose out on that. And then they gave him damage boost. So whenever I play Ultron, I just find whatever my DPS is, throw a drone on him and hit damage boost button. And then Bucky just, like, if it's Bucky, or sometimes I even damage boost my other tank, if it's Venom or Thor or something, and they just tear through the team. And then I can just apply constant pressure while my damage boost person tears through the team with healing over time, and the rest of the team gets AFK healing over time, and it doesn't prevent my supports from generating ult charge either, which should be one of the other weaknesses of triple support, that you generate less support ult charge, but doesn't really do that because their healing is so low, it's so minimal that it doesn't really affect it. And I know people will be like, no, on Ultron I get the amount of healing. Go look at my video on how much healing you do, and like doing less healing will actually result in a bigger number because you do less healing over time. It takes longer to get somebody to full, like, whatever. The math checks out. Now, what's really important about this is role queue is bad. And I'm going to say it's bad, not because it stifles, one, it stifles creativity. Two, the team-ups, even though they are dog water right now, it gets rid of their ability to make good, interesting team-ups. Because something like the Fantastic Four team-up, well, that requires 4 people across 3 different roles. You couldn't have a 3 DPS team-up. There was a 3 DPS team-up, Season 1. It was pretty good. It was Black Panther, Magic, and Psylocke, I think. I think Psylocke was the third person. It allowed them to go backwards in time about 1 minute through a magic portal. They could go back a few seconds to where they were a few seconds ago. It was good for those characters. It was really cool. But you couldn't do that in 222. It stifles the creativity of team-ups, stifles the creativity of character designs, and it makes it so that a lot of the characters in the game have to be reworked. Because you can't play Wolverine in 222. You can't have tank busters in 222 because it would make the tank experience miserable and nobody would want to play tank, and the roll queue and the queue times go astronomically crazy. People already don't want to play tank. You can't have 222 because Adam, Mantis, Ultron, even Jeff would need redesigned so that way they are heal bots, or they heal bot, and then every now and then they can do something else because they functionally cannot function. What was that sentence? In a 2-2-2 comp. Adam, Mantis, Ultron? For sure cannot. They just can't. In a 2-2-2 comp, Rocket never uses his gun. Unbind is left click. You might as well never touch it. The only time you're using it is when in a support ult anyways, and that's because you're immortal and your healing isn't going to do anything. Like, this game doesn't function for 2-2-2. We can't have 2-2-2 roll queue. And then there's things like, well, maybe if we add passives, like if you have 3 strategists, you heal less. If you have 3 DPS, you do less damage. If you have 3 tanks, maybe you block less damage. You take more damage. No, that doesn't work because, one, you can soft throw other people's games. Sorry, another character that doesn't work in 2-2 is Mr. Fantastic because he isn't tanky enough, can't hold space well enough to be a tank, and he isn't DPS enough to be a DPS. He's kind of that hybrid area, and so you either play him and you play him like a tank, or you play him and you play him like a DP, and he just wouldn't work. You would need to be revamped. Because the most value I've ever seen someone get, someone who is not like the best. Like, I've seen a few people who are like absolute goats on Mr. Fantastic, like but never in my games. They're always above Celestial. So it just takes a character like that and says, yeah, you don't fundamentally work in this game. You're a low rank smasher, but that's because you don't need to aim. Like Moon Knight, like Squirrel Girl. And that's not fun. And that's not fun for the people who like that character, because that means they won't get buffs because it smashes low ranks, and if that character gets a buff, it's going to make it worse for the lower ranks, right? But but if you have the debuffs for playing any triple, one, why would you even play triple at that point? Mantis already doesn't do that much healing. If you play triple with Mantis, and you get less healing for it, you're just punishing your other two supports. It's like, you might as well never press the right click to heal on Mantis, just only damage boost. And then you have a DPS with damage boosting capabilities. And self-heal, and self-speed, and damage boost. Like, what are we thinking with that? And it's same thing with DPS. If you play a third DPS, and you do less damage, actually, you know what? That one, I could get behind. Well, I can't get behind that one because you couldn't have that carry over to other roles. But you know what? That one at least makes sense. With a third DPS, even with a 5 to 15% damage reduction on all of them, you'll probably still be doing more damage than if you played 2. But on supports, you're just punishing. Unless you play 3 main supports. But then we have Season 0, Season 1 again, where it's just, I play this support for the support ultimate. Support ultimate, go burr, make me immortal. And you play 3 main supports because if you play one of the off supports, you don't have enough healing. I think if they did role queue, they would have to redesign a lot of the heroes in the game so that way they are playable and the game is still fun in that format. I just don't think it's worth it. I don't think they can do it. I don't think it's worth doing. There's no reason to do anything like that. They just need to change the way that supports get value. The way that those off supports get value, I will correct myself. Because Mantis giving a damage boost, that's the only thing that makes Mantis good right now. Right? In my opinion. I think they play Mantis at the higher ranks because it's just a DPS who can self-heal, self-damage boost, self-speed boost, and then give damage boost and healing to people who are like diving the backline. Daredevil with damage boost and healing on the backline wins every fight, no matter what. Black Cat with that wins every fight, no matter what. Giving Devil Dinosaur a damage boost wins every fight, no matter what. And it's not like you're losing out on damage to get that damage boost, right? Because Mantis does do a lot of damage and helps support and helps her supports with her sleep, can help your tanks with her sleep, can shut things down with her sleep, can do anything with the sleep. Anything. It's not the second coming of Jesus Christ over here, but you see my point. I don't think this is worth it. I don't think it's possible to do 2-2-2 in this game without changing the game fundamentally. But let me know what you think. I'll see ya.